Like many fire districts across the state of Oregon, Lebanon Fire District has an ongoing need for volunteers.
Historically, our fire department has been comprised of volunteer firefighters, and we've slowly moved to career firefighters, but the need of volunteers in our community is still there.
This prompted the Lebanon Fire District to do some serious brainstorming, which resulted in 2 programs.
And we looked at adding some support volunteers. What that means is they're technically not firefighters. We call them non-combat volunteers, and they assist in other functions. And so that group is called Fire Corps here at the department.
Volunteers in the Fire Corps help implement safety measures in the community by installing smoke alarms, inspecting life jackets at public lakes and pools, assisting firefighters on calls, and providing emotional help to fire victims.
When there's a structure fire, we get a tone on our phone. There's an app that we have that we see all fire calls that come through. And anything that's a first alarm, it could be a major traffic accident, it could be a structure fire. We go to the fire station. It's a rural area is where we live, and we pick up our unit and then we respond to the scene. Now once we get there, we set up a rehab area. We check with the battalion chief to find out where he'd like us, because we are usually far enough away from the fire where it doesn't affect us, but close enough to where the guys can come and get rehabbed. And we set up tables and chairs. We have a way to give them snacks or water. If they're not feeling well, they can lay down. We'd still have a gurney inside, even though there's no medicine or anything in our little unit. We have blankets. It's pretty good. We also take their vital signs to make sure that they're okay to go back in the fire.
The Fire Corps program is one of the few programs in the state of Oregon that trains volunteers in emotional support.
The emotional, practical support side of it is they're on call, and when someone dies or someone's house burns down, one of our responders will go to the scene and they'll actually talk with the families. They'll talk with the victims.
They're standing there watching their house burn, and the kids get very devastated. We have teddy bears in our little unit too, and so we bring them inside. It's warm in there. There's a place to sit. They can get away from looking at that. Try to get them to calm down. Then we try to assess whether or not they're going to be able to go in. Sometimes the fire is knocked down quickly and they can go back in maybe tomorrow or the day after, but sometimes they're going to be out and it's a complete loss. It's all about trying to make them feel a little bit better under the worst circumstances.
The other program the Lebanon Fire District launched is called the Western University Lebanon Fire Emergency Alliance Program.
A program instituted with the college through their community service learning program, where they're required to do volunteer hours, and they can do them through the fire department. And we put medical students through a full-time Firefighter 1 Academy. And so at the end of the academy, they're full-fledged volunteer firefighters for us.
The local college and the fire district partner up each year to train a select group of medical students to become certified firefighters and medical responders.
I've always been very interested in emergency medicine as a specialty that I want to go into. So I wanted to get boots on the ground experience with the first responders of what they go through and what my patients are going to go through before I see them in the hospital. And that would hopefully allow me to not only have a better understanding of what my patients go through, but also have a better relationship with the first responders because I've been in their boots, essentially. I've gotten to see what they do when they arrive on scene and what goes on in the ambulance between getting the patient and transporting them to the hospital, or just assessing the patient and determining whether or not they need to go to the hospital.
There are so many skills and equipment that you have to be knowledgeable with that I just had no idea firefighters knew. I was like, oh, they just work in emergency medical services and fight fires sometimes. Well, there's a whole other side to that. It's, utilizing chainsaws, forcible entry, carrying all the equipment, being ready for anything at any time, as far as medical calls too. So it just adds a whole huge layer to what you have to be ready for on every call.
It's also provided experience hands-on with patients, because in the first and second year of medical school you're primarily doing didactic work and we're not doing clinical rotations yet. And so this gives us a head start on seeing patients, assessing them, taking their vital signs, and getting to interact with actual patients.
These programs have had a tremendous impact on the fire district and the community.
The biggest impact is for the district and the community as a whole is that we have 8 firefighters a year that come on board that are trained firefighters that can respond to calls. And so historically you need 15 firefighters as bare minimum on scene, and as a district we have a full-time amount of 10 firefighters. So we rely on that gap. There's a 5-person gap that we rely on for our volunteer force to show up on every call, or every fire call that is.